Have you ever wished you could read someone's thoughts? While the mind is complex and hidden, the body is often a window into the soul. In today's journey, we will explore how gestures, posture, and even the smallest of movements can reveal the untold stories of others.
All right, everybody, welcome back. We are diving deep into something today that is so cool. I mean, we all do it every single day, multiple times a day, but we don't think about it nearly as much as we should.
That's right.
It is, of course, body language.
Yes.
And to help us with this deep dive, we have an awesome FAQ on body language.
It's a good one.
It's so good. And, have you ever felt like someone wasn't really saying what they meant, or maybe there was something else going on kind of beneath the surface,
All the time.
right? Like you can just feel it. And that's where body language comes in.
Yeah, definitely.
So let's start at the very beginning. What is body language?
Well, you can think of it as anything you communicate that's not the words you're saying.
Okay.
So your posture, your hand gestures, your facial expressions, even like how far or close you stand to another person when you're talking to them.
Oh, that's interesting. I never really thought about like the actual space between you and another person.
Absolutely. That's a big one.
Oh.
And all of those things actually tell a story. And researchers say that over 65% of what we communicate face-to-face comes from this nonverbal communication.
That's crazy. So most of what we're saying isn't even coming out of our mouths.
It's true.
It's all this other stuff. And I guess that would explain why sometimes I feel like I'm not really understanding somebody. Or maybe I feel a little bit off about an interaction.
Yeah.
Okay, so if it's that important, I mean, 65%, that's a huge amount of what we're communicating.
Is it a universal language, though?
That's a great question. It's kind of a combination. Some expressions, like smiling when you're happy or frowning when you're sad, those seem to be pretty universal no matter where you go in the world.
Okay, that makes sense.
But then you get into some gestures that can be very different depending on what culture you're in.
Cool, like what?
So, for example, the OK sign, making a circle with your thumb and your forefinger.
Right.
In the U.S., that usually means okay or good or all right. But in some other cultures, it can be really offensive. Oh, wow. So you could really get yourself into trouble. I mean, I guess I've never really thought about that. But
Yeah.
you could really get yourself into some trouble if you weren't aware.
Exactly.
So how do we become better at reading these signals? What can we do to kind of become body language experts?
Well, one really important thing is to look for clusters of gestures instead of just focusing on one thing.
What does that mean?
So, for instance, let's say somebody has their arms crossed.
Yeah,
Now, that by itself might not mean too much. Maybe they're just cold.
right.
But if they have their arms crossed and they're also frowning and their eyebrows are furrowed and they're kind of leaning back away from you,
Oh,
that's telling a very different story.
yes, definitely.
So, it's like reading a sentence. You need the whole sentence to understand the meaning. You can't just look at one word.
Oh, that's such a good way to put it. Okay, so we're looking for patterns and not just isolated incidents. I love that. So what are some other things that we can do to hone our skills?
Well, this FAQ actually has a really good tip.
Oh,
Try watching TV with the sound off.
that's fun.
Yeah, it's a good way to practice. And you'd be surprised how much you can pick up just from the character's body language.
I actually do that sometimes when I'm like folding laundry or something. It makes it a little bit more interesting.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Okay, so now for the question that I think is on everyone's mind. Can you really spot a liar based on body language?
That is the million-dollar question.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, body language isn't a perfect lie detector. It's not foolproof,
Okay.
but it can definitely give you some clues. And what you're really looking for are inconsistencies between what somebody is saying and what their body language is telling you.
So like when someone says, oh, I'm fine, everything's fine,
Mm,
but their like jaw is clenched and they're like
exactly.
white knuckling their water bottle.
Exactly. You got it. You're getting it.
Okay, so inconsistencies.
Mm-hmm.
Are there any like specific tells that we should be on the lookout for?
Yeah, so some of the classic ones are fidgeting, avoiding eye contact, or any kind of like really sudden changes in posture. Another one is what are called micro expressions, and these are super quick little facial expressions that just flash across someone's face for like a fraction of a second.
Oh, I don't know if I would even be able to pick up on that.
They can be really hard to catch, but they can reveal a lot about what someone's truly feeling, even if they're trying to hide it.
So if I see my friend, telling me that they're not nervous about this big presentation they have to give, but I see their foot like capping a mile a minute under the table,
Right.
maybe I shouldn't totally believe them.
Maybe not.
Okay, so we've talked about spotting liars.
Yeah.
Can you fake it, though? Can you, like, fake your body language to try to make people think you're feeling something that you're not?
It is a lot harder than people think.
Really?
Yeah, you
Yeah.
can try to project confidence. You can do a power pose or force a smile, but those really subtle subconscious movements, those are really hard to control.
So you might be able to get away with it for a little while, but eventually your true feelings are going to come out.
Yeah, pretty much.
Interesting. So I guess honesty is the best policy in the end.
Definitely. It just makes everything easier and it builds stronger relationships.
Yeah, because if you're trying to, like, manipulate your body language
Yeah.
and you're not being genuine, people can kind of feel that.
Right, for sure.
Okay, now here's something that I've always wondered about, and I know this is kind of getting into a little bit of a different area, but women's intuition.
Yeah.
Is there any science behind that, or is that just kind of like a myth or a stereotype?
Well, it's interesting because there actually is some research suggesting that women might be better at reading nonverbal cues than men.
Wow. So it's not just a stereotype.
It might be more than that.
Why do you think that is? I mean, evolutionarily or just in terms of, like, our social roles?
Well, there are a couple of theories out there.
Okay.
One is that it could be because women have traditionally taken on roles that require a lot of emotional intelligence,
Yeah.
like caregiving.
Right.
So they've had to be really good at picking up on subtle cues.
I mean, you think about mothers, they have to figure out what their baby needs based on very, very few signals.
Exactly.
Interesting. So maybe all those years of, trying to figure out what your baby needs or what your partner really means when they say nothing,
Right.
maybe that has really honed women's ability to read body language.
That's one idea. And, there are other theories about evolutionary factors or even social conditioning that might be at play as well.
It's so fascinating. Well, I think it's safe to say we have all learned a lot about the power of body language today and how much we can learn from it if we pay attention.
Definitely.
It's like this whole secret language we've been speaking our whole lives.
I like that, a secret language.
I know, right? But now we're starting to learn the grammar rules.
Exactly. Now you can be more aware and really understand those nonverbal cues.
So I guess as we leave everybody today, I would just encourage all of our listeners to think about what message are you sending to the world with your body language?
That's a great takeaway.
It's something to really ponder. Thanks so much for joining us on this deep dive into the world of body language. It has been fascinating, and we'll see you all next time for another deep dive.
See that?
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
I once mentored a young boy who struggled in meditation. He often slouched, claiming he was at peace, but his posture revealed the burden of his thoughts. By aligning his body, he found his mind followed. Balance begins with awareness.